Hey, what's going on everybody? How are you people doing? Here back again with another football video here. So this time I'm going to be doing another 2022 FIFA World Cup team preview. This time we'll be previewing the Mexico national team. Now obviously you look at the Mexico national team here, no matter which group they get drawn up against at the World Cup here, they always are able to find a way how to boss their way in the group here. But obviously when it comes to World Cups, despite Mexico having all that incredible success and being able to make it out of the group stage, unfortunately the biggest thing that's holding the Mexico national team back is that dreaded round of 16 curse. That's right. So that's what I want to kind of elaborate here before going into how I imagine Mexico will line up at the 2022 World Cup with my predicted starting 11. Now obviously you look at Mexico here, the way how their round of 16 curse began was all the way back in 1994. That's right. Mexico were drawn up against Republic of Ireland, Italy, and Norway. However, Mexico, they were able to finish number one in the group. Despite them finishing number one in the group, unfortunately, their World Cup dreams came to an end at the hands of the Bulgaria national team when Bulgaria defeated them 3-1 on penalties. That's right. And for the next near 20 years, this is what would begin Mexico's round of 16 misfortunes. And then looking at the 1998 World Cup, Mexico were drawn up against the Netherlands, Belgium, and South Korea, where they finished second in the group. But unfortunately, they would be dealt another round of 16 loss, this time at the hands of Germany. Despite them leading 1-0 against Germany, 2 goals from Germany in under 15 minutes basically ended Mexico's hopes of making it out of the round of 16. And then looking at the 2002 World Cup, Mexico were drawn up against Italy, Croatia, and Ecuador, where Mexico finished number one in the group here. Despite Mexico finishing number one in the group, they would this time lose 2-0 to neighbors United States in the round of 16. And looking at the 2006 World Cup, Mexico got drawn up in a group with Portugal, Angola, and Iran. But Mexico were able to finish second in the group with 4 points. But unfortunately, Mexico would lose to Argentina after extra time here. And at the 2010 World Cup, Mexico got drawn up in a group with Uruguay, South Africa, and France, where Mexico ended up finishing second in the group behind Uruguay. But once again, much like at the 2006 World Cup, Mexico once again got knocked out by Argentina 3-1 in the round of 16. Moving along to the 2014 World Cup, Mexico got drawn up against Brazil, Croatia, and Cameroon, where Mexico tied with Brazil, but they finished second in the group based off of goal differences. But this time here, Mexico, it looked like that they were going to be close to breaking that round of 16 curse, as Giovanni Dos Santos scored a beautiful long-range strike to put Mexico up in the 48th minute against the Netherlands. So as the clock was ticking here, it's looked like that Mexico were going to finally break that round of 16 curse, and this is the closest they came here. But then Wesley Sneijder scored a goal in the 88th minute to equalize the game, and then Klaus-Jan Huntelaar scored a penalty to put the Netherlands up 2-1 and once again end Mexico's World Cup hopes and dreams. And obviously for every Mexico fan, I can imagine that this is probably the most painful round of 16 exit they ever witnessed their team be dealt with. And looking at the 2018 World Cup, Mexico were drawn up against Sweden, South Korea, and Germany, where Mexico obviously pulled off that big upset in game 1 by defeating Germany 1-0, and Mexico were drawn up in the round of 16 game against Brazil, where they lost 2-0. And so thus continuing Mexico's round of 16 World Cup exits. But this time here, Mexico, they got drawn up against Poland, Argentina, and Saudi Arabia. And the biggest question about the Mexico national team heading into the World Cup this year is that will Mexico finally be able to break that round of 16 curse or no? Because obviously for Mexico, I can definitely imagine that they have a better chance of, for example, putting up a great performance over Argentina compared to Poland and Saudi Arabia's performances against that team. But looking at this group here, if Mexico by some miracle can hold Argentina to a draw here, then I do think they have a great shot of being able to clinch that number 1 or that number 2 spot. But most likely prior to the World Cup, at the time of me recording this video, there is a big belief here that Argentina will clinch that number 1 spot. And for that second spot, obviously for Poland, I think they can definitely challenge for that number 2 spot. But hey, for Mexico here, they can also challenge for that number 1 spot. And if they do clinch that number 1 spot here in this group, it's going to be interesting to see who they get drawn up against in the round of 16. Now, obviously from what I read here for Mexico is that a lot of the fans have been criticizing the national team manager. However, at the time of me recording this video, I believe that's the current manager that's facing a lot of criticism. I still think he's going to be with Mexico for the 2022 World Cup, and I think it's going to depend on how Mexico perform at the World Cup, whether or not he's going to be the right fit for the Mexico national team to be the manager and lead the team. Now, heading into this World Cup here, obviously the biggest question for the Mexico football team manager is to see how he's going to be able to utilize the players, because you look at the international stage the way how Mexico has been playing recently, and in a few games they have struggled quite a bit, I would have to say. Obviously, the manager has received a lot of criticism for Mexico losing their last 2 games to their neighbors, the US. And obviously for the Mexico national team manager here, I think the biggest task he's faced with prior to this World Cup is seeing how well will his team perform tactically under his tactics. Because I think that's going to determine on how far Mexico can go at the World Cup this year, is just whether or not the manager will get his tactics right. Because obviously in their matchup against Argentina for Mexico, that's going to be the biggest test, I think, in this entire group stage. So obviously for Mexico, a win against Argentina would be a big boost for their team, because obviously Mexico have proven time and time again that they can take on anybody at the World Cup, whether it's Germany, France. So obviously you don't want to doubt this Mexico team at all. They have a lot of great potential here, especially given the squad depth. They have incredible squad depth, especially for their defenders. And right here, this is a little starting 11 lineup that I created here as a prediction on how I imagine Mexico are going to line up at the World Cup. So I imagine they're going to play a 4-3-3 formation here with the main man Raul Jimenez up front as striker, and then on the left side of the wing here, I imagine they're going to play Chucky Lozano, and on the right side, I think they're going to use Jesus Corona. And looking at their midfield here, I think they're going to line up here with Hector Herrera, Edson Alvarez, and Andres Guardado, who's the team captain for the Mexico national team. And for their back four here, this is how I believe they're going to line up with Arteaga, Cesar Montes, Hector Moreno, Araujo, and the main man Memo Ochoa as their goalkeeper. Now, if this is how Mexico play at the World Cup here, then I think they have a great shot, especially against Argentina. But that's also going to determine how well can Memo Ochoa play, because obviously I think that's one factor that's going to determine whether or not Mexico can get a win over Argentina, is how well can Memo Ochoa play as keeper. And who knows how they can perform at the World Cup. Will they be able to make it past the round of 16, or will they once again get knocked out in the round of 16 if they do manage to make it out of the group stage? That's going to be the biggest question. So yeah guys, that's my preview video. Hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please like, comment, subscribe, and see ya.